Was humanity's destiny truly forged in the crucible of a restless earth, long before the first tool was sharpened, or the first fire tamed? Could the violent ballet of continents, a dance spanning eons, have orchestrated the very rise and fall of empires, the distribution of wealth and the flashpoints of modern conflict? This is not merely a philosophical musing, but a radical proposition that the ancient colossal collisions of Earth's tectonic plates are the unseen architects of our present geopolitical landscape, silent sculptors of human fate. Imagine for a moment a world profoundly alien, yet undeniably the ancestor of our own. This is not the Earth we know, neatly divided by oceans and dotted with familiar landmasses. No, this is an Earth caught in the throes of geological infancy, a planet still writhing and reshaping itself with an unimaginable, primal power. For too long, humanity has viewed its history through a narrow temporal lens, focusing on recorded events, political machinations, and the grand narratives of kings and conquerors. We chart the ebb and flow of civilizations, meticulously documenting their triumphs and failures, their innovations and their wars. Yet beneath this intricate tapestry of human endeavor lies a foundation far more ancient, far more influential, and infinitely more violent than any battle waged by man. This foundation is the Earth itself, a living, breathing character in this epic saga, undergoing transformations so profound they dwarf any human achievement. Its surface, a mosaic of colossal plates, grinds and tears, buckles and subducts, driven by the infernal engine of its molten core. The conceptual clash here is profound, the fleeting flicker of human history, barely a cosmic blink against the immeasurable expanse of deep geological time. Our empires rise and fall in centuries. Mountains are born and eroded over millions of years. How could the slow, relentless march of geology possibly dictate the rapid, unpredictable currents of human affairs? The answer lies in the subtle, yet utterly decisive ways these ancient cataclysms imprinted themselves upon the planet's surface, creating the very stage upon which human drama would later unfold. The distribution of resources, the formation of natural barriers, the patterns of climate, and even the paths of migration, all were preordained by forces that operated on scales incomprehensible to the human mind. Consider the very map of our world today. It appears fixed, a stable backdrop for our nations and borders. But this perception is a dangerous illusion. What if every mountain range, every desert, every fertile valley, every coastline is not merely a geographical feature, but a scar, a colossal, enduring wound left by collisions of unimaginable force? What if the very lines we draw on these maps delineating territories and sovereignty are in fact merely tracing the outlines of ancient geological events? The initial map, the blank canvas upon which human history would be painted, was not a neutral, homogeneous surface. It was a landscape already scarred, already endowed with inherent advantages and disadvantages, already pregnant with the seeds of future conflict and cooperation. The revelation is startling. The political map of today, with its contested territories, its resource-rich regions, and its strategic choke points, is not solely a product of human ambition or historical accident. It is, in a profound and literal sense, a fossilized echo of ancient violence. Each continent, each landmass carries within its very geology the indelible memory of titanic clashes, of grinding plates, of subducting crusts, and of the immense pressures that uplifted mountain ranges or carved deep ocean trenches. These geological events, occurring over hundreds of millions of years, did not simply reshape the Earth's crust. They fundamentally shaped the possibilities and limitations for life, and crucially, for the civilizations that would one day emerge. We stand at the precipice of a new understanding, one that demands we look beyond the immediate causes of human conflict and prosperity, and instead peer into the Earth's deep past. The silent architects of our world were not kings or generals, but the inexorable forces of plate tectonics. Their blueprints, etched in stone and sculpted in landforms, have guided the currents of human destiny with an invisible yet iron hand. The next time you glance at a world map, try to see beyond the political boundaries. Try to discern the ancient scars, the monumental impacts that preceded human existence, and consider how those primeval forces continue to reverberate through our modern world, shaping our conflicts, our alliances, and our very identity. The story of human geopolitics is, at its deepest level, the ongoing saga of a planet perpetually in motion, a testament to the enduring legacy of unimaginable continental upheaval. This bold premise, that our present geopolitical landscape is a direct inheritance from Earth's violent geological past, compels a journey back in time to an era when the world was utterly unrecognizable. Imagine a single supercontinent, Pangaea, a colossal landmass dominating the global stage, its sheer scale dwarfing any modern continent. For hundreds of millions of years, this immense landmass represented a unified, albeit geologically active, entity. Yet even as life slowly diversified and evolved across its vast expanse, the internal pressures of a restless planet were already at work, preparing for a cataclysmic transformation. The story of Pangaea is not merely one of existence, but of an inevitable, dramatic fragmentation, a planetary divorce that would forever alter the course of terrestrial life and, ultimately, human history. The forces that orchestrated Pangaea's breakup were nothing short of awe-inspiring. Beneath its colossal weight, the Earth's mantle churned, creating immense pressures that stretched and tore at the supercontinent's foundations. Rifts began to appear, fissures hundreds of kilometers long, slowly widening as magma surged upwards from the planet's fiery core. This wasn't a sudden, explosive event, but a slow, agonizing process spanning tens of millions of years, each geological epoch witnessing new cracks, new separations. As these rifts deepened, they became nascent ocean basins, slowly filling with water as the newly formed continental fragments drifted apart. The Atlantic Ocean, for instance, began as a narrow, shallow seaway, growing wider by mere centimeters each year, yet accumulating into the vast expanse we know today over eons. This fragmentation was accompanied by unparalleled geological activity. As continents pulled apart, new ocean crust was generated at mid-ocean ridges, pushing the plates further from each other. Conversely, where plates collided, often at the edges of these newly formed continents, the crust was forced downwards into the Earth's mantle in a process called subduction. These subduction zones were epicenters of unimaginable power, responsible for some of the planet's most dramatic transformations. They acted like colossal geological bulldozers, scraping up sediments, melting rock, and generating intense volcanic activity. The Pacific Ring of Fire, a modern testament to these processes, offers a glimpse into the fiery birth pangs of ancient continental margins. The consequences of Pangaea's fragmentation were profound and multifaceted. As continents drifted, they carved out new coastlines, creating entirely new environments for marine life to flourish. The collision of land masses, often involving the subduction of oceanic crust beneath continental plates, led to the uplift of colossal mountain ranges. The Himalayas, a relatively young range, serve as a modern proxy for the scale of these ancient orogenic events. Imagine mountain chains rising thousands of meters, not over centuries but over millions of years, creating formidable barriers that would later dictate climate patterns, river systems, and the very paths of migration for early life forms, and eventually, for humanity. These nascent mountain ranges were not just geological features. They were nascent political borders, natural fortifications, and climatic dividers, long before any living creature walked the earth. A sense of awe and terror inevitably arises when contemplating the raw, untamed power of these planetary forces. The Earth in this epoch was not a serene, stable sphere, but a dynamic, churning crucible of creation and destruction. The grinding of tectonic plates, the relentless pull and push of mantle convection, the explosive outpourings of magma, these were the daily realities of a planet in the throes of radical transformation. The scale of these events defies easy comprehension. We speak of millions of years, of forces capable of lifting entire mountain ranges, of oceans opening and closing like gargantuan geological mouths. It is a humbling reminder of humanity's brief presence on a planet shaped by processes far older and far more powerful than anything we can conceive. The true revelation, however, lies in understanding that these immense events were not just geological curiosities, confined to the textbooks of Earth scientists. They were the fundamental architects of our world. These were the forces that literally tore continents apart, creating the distinct landmasses we recognize today. They forged new landscapes, sculpting the plains, valleys, and plateaus that would one day cradle human civilizations. They laid down the geological foundations for future resource distribution, creating the veins of precious minerals and fossil fuels that would fuel human ambition and conflict. Every bend in a river, every fertile delta, every desolate desert, every strategic strait, each carries the indelible fingerprint of Pangaea's last breaths, of the unimaginable violence that ripped apart a supercontinent and set the stage for all that followed. The modern world, in all its complexity, is built upon the literal ruins of this ancient, fragmented supercontinent, its geopolitical contours subtly, yet irrevocably dictated by the monumental forces that once broke apart a unified world. The echoes of that ancient violence resonate even now, shaping our destinies in ways we are only just beginning to comprehend. The echoes of that ancient violence resonate even now, shaping our destinies in ways we are only just beginning to comprehend. The planet's colossal geological upheavals, the very processes that tore apart Pangaea and sculpted new landmasses, did more than merely redraw the global map. They meticulously laid down the initial blueprints for the distribution of Earth's most precious resources, embedding them deep within the newly formed continents. These subterranean treasures, once inert and hidden, would eventually become the very veins of power that dictated the rise and fall of early human civilizations, guiding their migrations, shaping their economies, and ultimately igniting their conflicts. As the continental plates ground against each other, the immense pressures and temperatures involved in mountain-building events often brought valuable mineral deposits closer to the surface. Ores of copper, tin, iron, and later, more complex alloys, were thrust upwards, exposed by erosion, or concentrated in geological formations accessible to early human prospectors. These newly exposed mineral veins dictated not just where early settlements might flourish, but also the technological trajectory of entire societies. A community situated near a rich copper deposit had an inherent advantage, allowing them to forge tools, weapons, and ornaments far superior to those of their neighbors. The discovery and mastery of metallurgy, a pivotal leap in human history, was inextricably linked to these geologically determined resource concentrations. Consider the early Bronze Age, a period defined by the fusion of copper and tin. Where did these essential components originate? Often they were found in distinct geological provinces, products of ancient volcanic activity or hydrothermal processes associated with plate tectonics. The tin mines of Cornwall in Britain, for instance, became a vital hub in ancient trade networks, its geological bounty connecting it to distant Mediterranean civilizations. Without the specific geological conditions that created and exposed those tin deposits, the Bronze Age as we know it might never have dawned, or at least would have unfolded in drastically different ways. Beyond metals, the same geological forces created other critical resources. Salt, indispensable for food preservation and human health, was often formed in ancient, evaporating seas or exposed in salt domes, geological structures resulting from tectonic pressures. Control over salt sources granted immense power, making it a valuable commodity and a strategic asset. Early trade routes frequently followed paths dictated by the availability of such resources, transforming once isolated communities into nodes in burgeoning commercial networks. These early arteries of commerce, often winding through treacherous terrain, were themselves products of the Earth's ancient sculpting hand. Furthermore, the very mountain ranges and vast deserts created by these continental collisions acted as formidable natural barriers. They weren't just scenic backdrops. They were monumental geographical features that channeled human migration, trade, and even military movements. The towering Himalayas, born from the collision of the Indian and Eurasian plates, for millennia served as an almost impenetrable wall, isolating the Indian subcontinent and shaping its unique cultural development. The Sahara Desert, though its precise formation is complex, has its deep roots in continental drift and climatic shifts, creating a vast arid expanse that both separated and, through specific trade routes, connected North and Sub-Saharan Africa. These natural fortifications and funnels profoundly influenced the geopolitical landscape of the ancient world. They channeled rivers, creating fertile valleys like the Nile and the Tigris-Euphrates, which became cradles of civilization, their prosperity directly tied to the predictable flooding and rich alluvial soils. At the same time, these geological structures limited direct interaction between different groups, fostering distinct cultural identities and sometimes intensifying competition for the scarce resources found within their confines. The struggle for control over fertile plains, access to vital rivers or pathways through mountain passes became a recurring theme in early human history, a direct consequence of the Earth's ancient violent reshaping. The early human struggle for these vital resources was not just about survival, it was about laying the groundwork for power and dominance. Societies that managed to control strategic mineral deposits, fertile river basins, or accessible trade routes inherently gained an advantage. They could accumulate wealth, support larger populations, and develop more sophisticated technologies and social structures. This inherent geological lottery meant that destiny, in a very real sense, was often written in the rocks beneath their feet. The profound revelation here is that the geological origins of critical resources, copper, tin, iron, salt, and even the very fertile ground for agriculture, became the linchpins of ancient power. These weren't arbitrary discoveries. They were direct consequences of the immense, slow-motion ballet of continental plates. The collision zones, the subduction events, the volcanic eruptions, and the subsequent erosion cycles all conspired to bring these treasures within reach of nascent human societies. The distribution of these vital materials was not random. It was a legacy of the Earth's deep past, a testament to the fact that the planet's internal dynamics had, long before humans existed, already begun to dictate the parameters of their future prosperity, conflict, and ultimately their very existence. The modern world's geopolitical map, with its resource-rich nations and strategic choke points, is but a ghost image of these ancient, geologically determined distributions, a silent testament to the enduring power of deep time. The profound revelation here is that the geological origins of critical resources, copper, tin, iron, salt, and even the very fertile ground for agriculture, became the linchpins of ancient power. These weren't arbitrary discoveries. They were direct consequences of the immense, slow-motion ballet of continental plates. The collision zones, the subduction events, the volcanic eruptions, and the subsequent erosion cycles all conspired to bring these treasures within reach of nascent human societies. The distribution of these vital materials was not random. It was a legacy of the Earth's deep past, a testament to the fact that the planet's internal dynamics had, long before humans existed, already begun to dictate the parameters of their future prosperity, conflict, and ultimately, their very existence. The modern world's geopolitical map, with its resource-rich nations and strategic choke points, is but a ghost image of these ancient, geologically determined distributions, a silent testament to the enduring power of deep time. Beyond the immediate availability of resources, the colossal shifts wrought by continental collisions unleashed another force that shaped human destiny with equally devastating, albeit less tangible, impact: climate. These geological upheavals were not mere static reconfigurations of landmasses. They dramatically altered the Earth's delicate atmospheric and oceanic systems, triggering profound and often brutal shifts in global weather patterns. As continents drifted, new ocean currents were born, redirecting vast rivers of warm and cold water across the globe, fundamentally changing precipitation cycles and temperature regimes. Mountain ranges, thrust skyward by the grinding plates, became colossal barriers to moisture-laden winds, creating rain shadows that transformed verdant plains into parched deserts on one side, while drenching the other in perpetual rain. The implications for early human societies were staggering. Imagine communities settled for generations along a reliable river, suddenly finding their water source dwindle to a trickle as a distant, unseen tectonic shift altered the regional weather. Or picture coastal settlements accustomed to predictable seasons, being ravaged by unprecedented floods as newly formed land bridges or deep ocean trenches rerouted powerful ocean currents, intensifying storms or causing sea levels to fluctuate wildly. These weren't slow, imperceptible changes. Many were dramatic shifts, manifesting over decades or centuries, well within the time frame of human memory and societal structure. Such prolonged droughts often led to the collapse of agricultural systems, triggering widespread famine, disease, and mass migrations. The archaeological record is replete with evidence of once flourishing settlements abruptly abandoned, their inhabitants forced to seek sustenance elsewhere, often clashing with existing populations in their desperate search for survival. Conversely, unprecedented floods could wipe out entire harvests, destroy infrastructure, and decimate populations, leaving survivors vulnerable and struggling to rebuild amidst the ruins. These environmental catastrophes, directly triggered by the planet's ongoing tectonic activity, painted a stark picture of humanity's profound vulnerability. Early societies, with their nascent technologies and limited understanding of global systems, were utterly at the mercy of these colossal geological forces. Their very existence was a precarious dance with a planet that was, in essence, constantly reshaping the rules of survival. The emotional toll of these environmental shifts must have been immense. Generations grew up witnessing the slow desiccation of their ancestral lands or the relentless encroachment of the sea. Oral traditions, passed down through the millennia, likely preserved the memory of a more bountiful past, fostering a deep-seated fear of the unpredictable natural world. This vulnerability wasn't just a matter of physical hardship. It shaped belief systems, fueled religious rituals aimed at appeasing angry deities, and ultimately drove innovation in water management, agricultural techniques, and resource allocation. Yet, even the most ingenious human adaptations often proved insufficient against the truly cataclysmic scale of geologically induced climate change. The historical and archaeological evidence linking these geological events directly to the decline of vulnerable societies is both compelling and chilling. Consider the sudden onset of aridification across vast swathes of the Middle East and North Africa around 2200 BCE, coinciding with the collapse of the Old Kingdom in Egypt and the Akkadian Empire in Mesopotamia. While the precise mechanisms are still debated, a growing body of scientific research points to shifts in atmospheric circulation patterns, potentially exacerbated by changes in ocean currents and atmospheric dust from volcanic activity, all ultimately rooted in the Earth's deep geological processes. These shifts created centuries of drought, crippling the agricultural foundations upon which these complex societies were built. Similarly, the Late Bronze Age collapse around 1200 BCE, a period of widespread societal breakdown across the eastern Mediterranean, saw cities burned, trade routes severed, and entire civilizations vanish. While multiple factors contributed, including invasions and internal strife, environmental stress played a crucial role. Evidence suggests prolonged periods of drought and, in some regions, increased seismic activity, which could have triggered tsunamis or disrupted vital water sources, pushing already strained societies over the brink. The interconnectedness of these events paints a powerful picture. The gradual, inexorable grind of tectonic plates, operating on timescales incomprehensible to humans, could nonetheless unleash forces that, in a relatively short span, fundamentally alter the course of human history, bringing even the most powerful empires to their knees. The Earth's deep past was not just a backdrop. It was an active, often cruel participant in the unfolding drama of human civilization, dictating not only where societies could flourish, but also when and how they might ultimately decline. The profound vulnerability of early societies, so starkly revealed by climate's cruel hand, naturally leads to the next chapter in this geological epic, the forging of empires in stone. Bridging the gap from environmental impact to the rise of civilizations, we begin to see how the very landscape, shaped by cataclysmic events millennia prior, became the silent architect of human power structures. The enduring impact of ancient geological features on the rise of civilizations is undeniable, a truth etched into the very foundations of history. Consider the Roman Empire, a behemoth of antiquity, whose longevity and reach were, in no small part, predicated on its strategic geographical position. The Italian peninsula, a finger of land thrust into the Mediterranean, was itself a product of ongoing tectonic activity, offering natural harbors and fertile plains. But it was the availability of specific geological resources that truly empowered Rome's expansion. Volcanic activity, a direct consequence of the collision zones that formed the Apennine Mountains, provided pozzolana, a volcanic ash crucial for superior concrete, enabling the construction of roads, aqueducts, and enduring structures that facilitated military logistics and civilian life. The central location in the Mediterranean, a basin formed by the slow dance of continental plates, made Rome a natural hub for trade, connecting Europe, Africa, and Asia. This prime geological real estate, providing both defensible borders and access to vital trade routes, was not an accident of history, but a legacy of deep time. Contrast this with the civilization of ancient Egypt, whose enduring power and remarkable isolation were equally products of geological destiny. The Nile River, a ribbon of life cutting through an otherwise arid landscape, owes its very existence to a geological rift valley system that channeled waters from the distant Ethiopian highlands. The annual inundation, bringing fertile silt, created the agricultural surplus necessary to sustain a complex society and monumental architecture. But Egypt's isolation, a powerful deterrent against invasion for millennia, was also geologically determined. To the east and west lay vast, uninhabitable deserts, the Sahara, a product of global climate patterns influenced by continental positions, and the Arabian Desert, a consequence of the ongoing rifting of the Arabian Plate. To the north, the Mediterranean Sea provided a natural barrier, while to the south, the Nile's cataracts, formed by resistant igneous rock outcrops, acted as impassable rapids guarding the southern frontier. This unique geological cocoon allowed Egyptian civilization to flourish with remarkable stability, largely shielded from the geopolitical turbulence that frequently engulfed other regions. The strategic importance of natural choke points and defensible borders, all products of ancient cataclysms, cannot be overstated in the narrative of empire. Mountain passes, river valleys, and narrow straits became coveted territories, dictating the flow of trade, migration, and military campaigns. The Bosporus Strait, a narrow waterway connecting the Black Sea to the Mediterranean, is a prime example. Its formation, influenced by tectonic shifts and changes in sea levels over geological epochs, made it a vital maritime gateway, repeatedly fought over by empires from the Byzantines to the Ottomans. Control of such passages meant control of commerce and power, demonstrating how geology directly shaped military campaigns and territorial disputes. The formidable mountain ranges of the Alps and the Himalayas, born from the titanic collisions of continents, served as natural fortresses, channeling migrations and conquests, forcing armies to adapt to their unforgiving terrain, and often defining the cultural and linguistic boundaries that persist to this day. This geological blueprint extended beyond mere physical barriers. It fundamentally shaped the conflicts and alliances that defined the Bronze and Iron Ages. The control of vital resources, born from geological bounty, became a perpetual flashpoint. Copper and tin, essential for bronze production, were not universally distributed. Their rarity and localized presence, often in specific geological formations, meant that societies without direct access were forced to trade or conquer. The Tin Road, for instance, tracing its path across Europe from Cornwall to the Mediterranean, was not just a trade route. It was a geopolitical artery, its existence dictated by the geological distribution of tin deposits. The control of salt mines, vast reserves formed by ancient evaporate deposits, was equally crucial, as salt was essential for food preservation and human sustenance. These geological linchpins of power fueled endless skirmishes, led to the formation of powerful trading networks, and ultimately forged complex diplomatic relations, often underpinned by the desire to secure or deny access to these geologically determined treasures. The very concept of territoriality, so central to the rise of empires, was thus deeply intertwined with the Earth's ancient history. Nations were not just defined by cultural identity or political ideology. They were, in a very real sense, defined by the mountains that protected them, the rivers that sustained them, and the mineral wealth that empowered them. The geological forces that shaped the continents, fractured the land, and deposited precious resources were therefore not passive backdrops to human history. They were active participants, dictating the possibilities and limitations of human ambition, drawing the very lines upon which empires would rise and fall. The map of ancient power was, in essence, a topographical projection of deep geological processes, a testament to how profoundly the Earth's raw, elemental power shaped the trajectory of human civilization. The echoes of these ancient geological dramas resonate profoundly in the modern world, shaping geopolitical landscapes and influencing conflicts that continue to unfold today. The very land upon which nations are built and the resources beneath it are a direct inheritance from those monumental continental collisions of epochs past. Consider the ongoing disputes over the South China Sea, a region rich in hydrocarbon reserves, whose seabed topography and resource distribution are direct consequences of millennia of tectonic activity. The fault lines that once tore continents apart now subtly define maritime boundaries and economic zones, igniting tensions between powerful nations. Similarly, the resource-rich Arctic, with its vast deposits of oil, gas, and rare earth minerals, becomes a new frontier for geopolitical competition. Its geology, sculpted by ancient glacial movements and tectonic shifts, now made accessible by a warming climate. These modern flashpoints are not isolated incidents. They are direct continuations of a struggle for resources and strategic positioning, deeply rooted in the geological inheritance of our planet. The mineral wealth that fueled the Bronze Age empires now powers the digital age, and its uneven distribution, a legacy of ancient Earth processes, continues to dictate economic power and international relations. Beyond direct resource conflicts, the long-term impact of these ancient cataclysms is evident in the global distribution of biodiversity and the unique ecosystems that define various regions. The separation of continents, for example, led to the evolutionary divergence of species, creating endemic flora and fauna on isolated landmasses. Australia, with its marsupials and monotremes, stands as a living testament to its prolonged isolation after breaking away from Gondwana, its unique ecology a direct consequence of tectonic plate movement. The formation of vast mountain ranges like the Andes created rain shadows, leading to arid deserts on one side and lush rainforests on the other, fostering distinct biomes that support vastly different life forms and, consequently, different human societies and economies. These ancient geological events essentially drew the foundational lines for ecological diversity, which in turn influenced agricultural practices, resource availability, and the very cultural identities of the people inhabiting these regions. The Amazon rainforest, a global biodiversity hotspot, owes its existence not only to climate, but also to the geological history of the South American continent, including the uplift of the Andes, which influenced river systems and weather patterns over millions of years. There is a profound sense of continuity, an enduring legacy of Earth's past, that permeates every aspect of our modern existence. The cities we build, the crops we grow, the trade routes we follow, and even the political alliances we forge are all, in some fundamental way, tethered to the geological events that transpired eons ago. The fertile floodplains that sustain massive populations, like those of the Nile or the Ganges, are products of ancient fluvial processes, often influenced by the erosion of geologically young, uplifting mountain ranges. The very stability of our landmasses, the frequency of earthquakes and volcanic eruptions, are constant reminders that our planet is still in motion, a direct and undeniable consequence of those ancient, earth-shattering collisions. When we look at a map today, we do not just see political borders. We see the ghost of Pangaea, the scars of ancient subduction zones, and the outlines of long-vanished oceans. The boundaries of tectonic plates, invisible to the naked eye, often run beneath modern nations, influencing their seismic activity and, in some cases, even their geopolitical stability. The human species, despite its technological advancements, remains intrinsically linked to the planet's geological rhythms. Our continuous adaptation to a world still in motion is a testament to this inescapable connection. From designing earthquake-resistant buildings in seismically active zones to managing water resources in regions shaped by ancient desertification, Humanity perpetually navigates a landscape forged by deep time. The rich volcanic soils that support thriving agricultural communities in places like Indonesia or Italy are a direct benefit of ongoing geological activity, while the stark, barren landscapes of ancient cratons, like parts of the African Shield, present different sets of challenges and opportunities. Our infrastructure, our economies, and our very survival are interwoven with the planet's geological heritage. The distribution of population centers, often clustered around ancient river systems or coastal plains, reflects humanity's age-old dependence on geologically favorable conditions. The choices made by early civilizations, dictated by the presence of fertile land, navigable rivers, or defensible mountains, have laid the groundwork for the modern geopolitical map, a map that, upon closer inspection, reveals itself to be a complex palimpsest of geological history and human endeavor. This realization forces us to confront the humbling truth that even our most modern challenges, from climate change resilience to resource scarcity, are fundamentally intertwined with the Earth's ancient past. The carbon cycle, which we now understand is critical to planetary health, has been profoundly influenced by millions of years of geological processes, including the formation and burial of fossil fuels from ancient organic matter. The very air we breathe, the water we drink, and the ground we stand upon are products of a long and violent geological history. The ongoing dynamic between human civilization and the planet's geological forces is not a new phenomenon. It is merely the latest chapter in an epic narrative that began when the first continents began to collide. Understanding this deep connection allows for a more profound appreciation of the forces that have shaped our world and continue to influence our destiny. It is a perspective that transcends the fleeting timelines of human history, offering a glimpse into the immense, slow-motion power that has sculpted our planet and, by extension, our societies. The invisible hand of geology guides not just the Earth's crust, but the very trajectory of human civilization. The invisible hand of geology guides not just the Earth's crust, but the very trajectory of human civilization. This profound connection underscores how the geopolitical shockwaves from ancient cataclysms continue to resonate with astonishing clarity in the present day. It is not merely an academic concept, but a lived reality, influencing everything from international trade routes to persistent territorial disputes. The distribution of strategic minerals, for instance, remains a direct consequence of tectonic processes that occurred millions of years ago, dictating which nations possess critical resources and, by extension, which hold significant leverage on the global stage. Consider the vast deposits of rare earth elements vital for modern technology, often found in ancient cratons, the stable, ancient cores of continents. Their scarcity and concentrated locations create geopolitical flashpoints, as nations vie for control over these indispensable materials. This continuous unfolding drama reveals how the massive, ancient events are still shaping our present and, inevitably, our future. The contours of continents, the depths of ocean basins, the heights of mountain ranges. These are not static backdrops but dynamic legacies of an Earth perpetually in flux. The very definition of a nation's borders, often appearing arbitrary on a political map, frequently aligns with natural geographical features born from immense geological violence. A mountain range, an uncrossable desert, or a strategically located river estuary, these are not just convenient boundaries. They are the enduring scars and features left by the Earth's ancient convulsions. These geological artifacts have channeled human migration, dictated trade routes, and provided defensible positions, thereby laying the foundational blueprints for modern states and their spheres of influence. The historical struggle for control over these geologically defined territories is a narrative as old as civilization itself, a conflict perpetually rekindled by the enduring magnetism of land and resources. The ongoing struggle for resources and land, intrinsically linked to ancient geology, continues to fuel international tensions. Access to fresh water, often dictated by river systems carved by ancient geological forces, becomes a matter of national security, leading to complex treaties and, at times, open conflict between riparian states. The fertile plains, nourished by ancient volcanic ash or glacial till, remain prime agricultural lands, attracting dense populations and becoming centers of power and wealth. Conversely, regions rendered inhospitable by ancient geological processes such as excessively mountainous terrains or vast deserts often become sparsely populated, isolated, or strategically vulnerable, shaping their inhabitants' very way of life and their interactions with the outside world. The relentless human quest for energy, driven by the consumption of fossil fuels formed over eons within sedimentary basins, directly connects our industrial age to the deep carbon cycles of the ancient Earth. The geopolitical implications of this dependence are undeniable, as nations with abundant hydrocarbon reserves wield immense power, while those without seek alternative sources or strategic alliances. This profound realization dawns upon us. The map you see today isn't just a collection of borders. It's a fossilized echo of ancient continental violence. Each mountain range tells a tale of colliding plates. Each rift valley whispers of continents tearing apart. And each fertile plain speaks of ancient rivers depositing rich sediments. These geological narratives are not relegated to dusty academic texts. They are etched into the very fabric of our modern world. They are the silent, powerful determinants of where populations thrive, where conflicts ignite, and where alliances are forged. The seemingly immutable lines drawn by human hands on a map are in many cases merely superficial overlays on a much older, more fundamental geological reality. The distribution of natural harbors, critical for maritime power and trade, is a direct result of ancient coastlines being shaped by tectonic uplift or subsidence. The strategic importance of narrow straits, often formed by the separation of landmasses or the erosion of ancient rock, has been a constant throughout history, from the Bosporus to the Strait of Hormuz. Understanding this deep-time perspective allows us to see the world not as a static arrangement of nations, but as a constantly evolving tapestry woven from geological processes and human endeavors. The very concept of nation or territory becomes imbued with a richer, more profound meaning when viewed through the lens of geological history. It highlights how deeply embedded human civilization is within the Earth system, a system whose fundamental characteristics were established long before the first human walked the planet. The seemingly arbitrary lines of latitude and longitude gain a new significance when we consider how they intersect with the profound and enduring patterns of geological history. The unequal distribution of wealth, resources, and even vulnerability to natural disasters across the globe can often be traced back to the planet's violent, formative years. This perspective offers a humbling reminder of our place within a grander narrative, one where human dramas play out on a stage meticulously sculpted by forces beyond our immediate comprehension or control, yet forces that continue to shape every aspect of our existence. The enduring power of these ancient events is undeniable. A constant, silent presence, shaping the geopolitical landscape of the 21st century. This profound realization, that the map we navigate today is a fossilized echo of ancient continental violence, forces a fundamental shift in perspective. It compels us to view history not as a purely human endeavor, but as an intricately choreographed dance between human ambition and the planet's tectonic ballet. The very foundations of civilizations, their wealth, their power, and their inevitable decline, were often predetermined not by the whims of kings or the genius of inventors, but by unimaginable continental collisions that occurred hundreds of millions of years ago. These cataclysmic events laid down the mineral riches, sculpted the defensive mountain ranges, carved the navigable rivers, and dictated the climate zones that would either foster or hinder human development for millennia. To truly grasp this, one must shed the conventional understanding of history as a series of isolated human events and embrace an entirely new lens. This lens reveals a continuous narrative, where deep time is not a separate realm, but the very bedrock upon which human dramas unfold. It encourages us to look at a modern geopolitical map and see not just national borders, but the ancient suture lines where continents once collided, the scars of long-vanished oceans, and the outlines of subterranean mineral deposits that still fuel contemporary conflicts. The distribution of oil and natural gas, for instance, is a direct legacy of ancient marine life accumulating in sedimentary basins, themselves products of specific tectonic settings. The rare earth elements, crucial for our high-tech world, are often found in geological formations linked to ancient volcanic activity or specific igneous intrusions. These resources, buried deep within the earth, become the prizes for which nations compete, form alliances, and wage wars, all unknowingly following a script written by geological forces long before humanity existed. Consider the notion of natural barriers. The Himalayas, a monumental testament to the collision of the Indian and Eurasian plates, have for eons served as an almost impenetrable boundary, shaping the distinct cultures and political entities of South Asia and East Asia. The vast deserts of North Africa and the Arabian Peninsula, consequences of ancient climate patterns influenced by continental configurations, served as natural fortifications, allowing certain civilizations to flourish in relative isolation while channeling trade and migration along specific, often perilous routes. These are not merely geographical features, they are silent, colossal architects of human history, dictating the flow of peoples, ideas, and armies. The dramatic reveal, therefore, is that ancient geology is not separate from human history, but its deep, fundamental foundation. Every major historical epoch, every rise and fall of empires, every technological revolution can be traced back, in some significant way, to the planet's geological inheritance. The agricultural surpluses that allowed early civilizations to develop in fertile river valleys were dependent on the geological processes that created those valleys and enriched their soils. The Bronze Age, a pivotal era in human development, was utterly reliant on the availability of copper and tin, resources whose distribution was determined by ancient tectonic activity. The very concept of civilization as we understand it is inextricably linked to the geological lottery that blessed certain regions with the necessary resources and environmental stability. This complete understanding of the interconnectedness of deep time and human civilization leaves the viewer with a profound sense of wonder and new insight. It's a humbling perspective, reminding us that we are not merely inhabitants of this planet, but integral parts of its ongoing, immensely long story. The Earth is not a passive stage but an active participant, its geological past continuously influencing our present and shaping our future. From the strategic importance of a narrow strait to the wealth generated by a mineral deposit, from the defensive advantage of a mountain range to the agricultural bounty of a river delta, the echoes of ancient cataclysms resonate everywhere. This new lens on history doesn't diminish human agency. Rather, it contextualizes it within a grander narrative of planetary evolution. It highlights the ingenuity and resilience of humanity in adapting to, exploiting, and sometimes being constrained by, the geological hand it was dealt. It suggests that to truly understand the geopolitical landscape of the 21st century, one must first understand the deep geological history that sculpted it. We are, in essence, living within the enduring shadow of Pangaea's breakup, our modern world a direct and undeniable consequence of those earth-shattering events that occurred millions of years ago. The story of humanity, therefore, is also the story of the Earth, a narrative of inseparable destinies woven together by the relentless, powerful forces of a living planet. This realization transforms our perception of the world, turning every landscape into a historical document, every map into a geological testament, and every geopolitical conflict into a chapter in a story that began long before the first human voice was ever heard.